So why use Sid? Well, he has insane amount of damage, and then he also have infinite scaling for infinite mode. However, his potential is heavily locked behind Monarch, and he does need to use his ability manually. Sid is a 3 placement and costs 100 and 1700 each to max, and in John Smith form he started with 300 degree cone and end with 90 degree cone. And in Sid form, he started with a small circle AoE and end with full AoE. Sid has 2 form and he has a transform gauge, which is filled by each attack, giving him 12.5% gauge or 8 attack before he transforms. So Sid, he is a full AoE and he has a huge buff, and he's amazing for finishing off bosses or any enemies. However, he takes a lot of time to build up. And in John Smith form, he does more damage to high HP enemy and he's good for damaging bosses. However, he has cone AoE compared to Sid full AoE. And for his best trait, Sid only best trait is Monarch, because Monarch synergizes too well with his ability. Well, yes, other traits are still viable, but Monarch gives Sid so much more damage potential. However, his top 3 traits are Monarch, Ethereal, and Deadeye. So for his good synergy, he loves buffers, okay, especially SPA buffer. Early, he wants to swap as much as possible for his nuke, and his swap meter fill up via how many times he attack, making SPA buffer really good, and damage and range buffer also good all around. Crowd control are also very good. With CC unit, they can allow Sid to do 2 ability if stalled well enough. So for anti-synergy, Sakura is here because it seems like Sakura passive is not working properly with Sid, as he still attack at the same SPA. Not sure if this is intended or bugged, so I'm putting her here for now. If this changes, I'll pin it in the comment. Saber Alter, well, since his SPA buffer is preferred, SPA debuffer are not very welcome. For familiar, I recommend Dark Spirit, and you want the extra meter increase to be above 60%, as this will allow him to swap every 5 attack instead of 8. Alternatively, if you're not swapping and using ability because someone else have Monarch, use any familiar that increases your damage, such as Burp, a lot of visit, or even Bodobi for faster stacking. So how to use Sid? For Monarch, you would want to swap as many times as possible, and to do that effectively, you can leave Sid at upgrade 5 or 8 for lowest SPA. And before facing strong boss, you want to stay in Sid form 10 wave prior to the boss, allowing him to buff himself up. And to help with swap, you can definitely want to use Dark Spirit Familiar for faster swap. Once a boss spawn, nuke it with his ability. If you're not using your ability because someone else has Monarch, Sid, John, and auto swap do similar amount of damage, while John does a little more damage to high HP enemy. I think it's still better to stay in Sid form, and it is not worth losing Sid 100% damage buff for a few percent temporary damage increase. Not to mention, once the boss has around 50 HP, Sid would do more damage than John. So in summary, Sid has been called names like mid, but like Choso or Aizen, not all of his damage are represented in the UI. Especially in John Smith mode, he has a lot of extra damage going for him, and even in Sid form, even though he already has 100% damage buff, his extra damage to low HP mob increases damage by 20 to 40%, but after understanding his kit, he is actually pretty broken. If this video helped you, please make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below who you want to see next.